Now what we're going to do is we're going to using 3 different calls. We're going to manipulate the list of addresses for the database, and then we'll save the changes. So that's what we're going to try and do now. And notice here what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and remove all except the old IDs already in the database, because I want to keep those to avoid this issue I showed you the last lesson. They want to stay. The things in the context need to stay in the context. So I want to start out by removing everything that's not supposed to be there after the request is done, but keep everything in there that should be there after the request is done. So let me try and give you an example here of the first thing I want to do. We have these two right now in the database. The database context grabs them from the database, and we have these two available. Now what I want to do, looking at the new request, I can see that what should stay in the database is this guy, because he's available in the new request and in the old request, so I'll keep him. But this guy should be removed. So that's what the first request will do. It'll take care of removing everything that shouldn't be in the database after our request is done right here, the new request. So let's try and go and do that. So I'm going to use a link for this, and right now I'm just going to use a simple method. I've made some crazy solutions, but I think I'll wait with those until we get to the 5th series. I'll try and show you some more crazy solutions where we start using some things like equals, we start using hash keys, we start using union with lists, and we can make it a bit simpler. But let's just make this this way for now. And the first thing I want to do is I want to grab the addresses and remove everything in the addresses. Now what do I want to remove? Well, first of all, I'm just going to get some help here from the system saying I need that divided exception that I really don't need. But I'm going to end up with address. Notice these guys are customer addresses right here, so CA. Customer addresses, and I want to use the customer addresses to kind of figure out if they should be removed or not. So I need to make another expression here saying, what do I want to check with? Well, I want to say everything in the customer that I want to update, all his addresses, there we can actually do something that called exists. So if, again, what I'm going to do the check now is I'm going to say if this ID and this ID exists in this guy down here, then don't remove it. But if they don't exist, then remove it. So that's why I'm using the exist right here. And let me just do a new liner again. And what I'm going to do in the exist is I'm going to call this address now the address from the customer updated. And on that guy, I'm going to say if this right here, the address ID equals the other address ID and the A's customer ID equals the CA's customer ID, right? Then I know that this guy exists. I hope that makes sense. So this is kind of just a check saying I want to remove right now everything that exists from the updated, between the updated and this one. I want to remove those that exist. So notice it's wrong right now. So if we go back to the small note right here, notice right now I'm removing everything that exists in both places. So I'm removing this guy actually. So I need a not keyword in there. I need to say everything that does not exist, remove that. So let's just put a breakpoint here and let's see what actually happens now when we do this. Just going to put a breakpoint down here and up here. And let's try and run the solution, and let me just try and show you what this small guy actually do for us. In some Postman here, I'm getting customer 1, and you'll notice he has 1 and 3 available right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into the put request. Notice 1 and 3 is exactly like we did here in our notepad. 1 and 3, that's what he have available, the customer 1. We go back to notepad, and then we're going to do a put request right here. I'm going to the body. I'm going to put in, instead of 1 and 3, I'm going to put in 1 and 2. Just like again in the notepad here, I'm putting in now 1 and 2 with the new request, right? I'm doing a send, and let's see what happens. I'm hitting the breakpoint here, hopefully, if I don't explode before that. There we go. Now notice the customer updated, if I go down and expand this guy, has 2 addresses here. Let me just zoom so you guys can see it. We have customer address 1 right here with the ID of 1, and we have customer address 2 down here with the ID of 1. So the updated one comes in with 1 and 2, just like we would expect. We step over a few times, step over. So now we just passed through this guy and did this crazy guy of removing everything that doesn't belong, and now the customer updated should actually end up looking with only a single address right now, and it seems it does. There we go. The only address available now is 1. I didn't show you guys, but actually before we ran this huge function right here, we actually had 1 and 3 right here in the addresses. So that part works now. So now we know we're getting everything removed that shouldn't be there after the request, and we're still keeping the one that should be there after the request. So that was the first step. See you in the next lesson.